3,000 years before Christianity, before Rome, before the pyramids had even finished settling into the sand. There was a sky god who feared his own children so much, he buried them alive inside the earth. There was a king who ate his sons the moment they were born, because a prophecy told him one of them would destroy him. And there was a boy hidden in a cave, drinking the milk of a goat, being raised in secret for one single purpose, to kill his own father. This isn't folklore for children. This is the origin story of the most powerful pantheon in human history. And every war, every betrayal, every monster you've ever heard of in Greek myth, Zeus, Medusa, the Titans, the underworld, all of it traces back to this one bloodline of fear, violence, and ambition. This is the complete story of how the Greek gods came to power, and it begins in absolute darkness. Before the universe had shape, there was only chaos, a vast, formless emptiness stretching in every direction with no light, no ground, no time. From that emptiness, something stirred. Gaia. The earth itself, given form and consciousness. Alongside her came Tartarus, a bottomless abyss of suffering, and Eros, the primal force of attraction that would one day bind gods and mortals in love, jealousy, and war. Gaia did not wait for a partner. She created one. Uranus, the starry sky, rose from her own being, and she took him as her husband. Together they produced 12 children, the Titans, beings of immense power. Among them, Cronus, ambitious and cold; Oceanus, ruler of the endless sea; Rhea, gentle and enduring. But Gaia and Uranus also produced other children, the Cyclopes, single-eyed giants of immense strength, and the 100-handed ones, monstrous in form but loyal by nature. Uranus looked at them and felt only revulsion, and what he did next would set every future betrayal in motion. Uranus imprisoned his own monstrous children, forcing them back into the body of Gaia herself, deep beneath the Earth's crust. The pain was constant, unbearable. Gaia could feel her children suffering inside her, and her sorrow slowly hardened into fury. She forged a weapon, a curved sickle made of gray flint, sharp enough to wound even a god, and turned to her Titan sons. "Which of you will help me end this?" Silence, fear. Then one voice answered. Cronus, the youngest, the most calculating of them all. That night, when Uranus descended to lie beside Gaia once more, Cronus was waiting in the shadows, sickle in hand. He struck without hesitation. The sky god was wounded, his power severed, his reign ended in a single violent act. From the blood that fell to the earth, new beings were born. And from the sea foam where the wound met the waves, a goddess rose fully formed, drifting toward the shore on a shell of gold. Aphrodite had entered the world. And Cronus, the son who had betrayed his father, now sat upon the throne of creation. But a throne built on betrayal rarely stays secure for long. Cronus married his sister, Rhea, and together they ruled what remained of the cosmos. But a warning haunted him, a prophecy from Gaia herself. One of his own children would rise up and overthrow him, exactly as he had overthrown his father. Cronus decided there would be no children left to fulfill it. When Rhea gave birth to their first daughter, Hestia, Cronus swallowed her whole alive. Then Demeter, swallowed. Then Hera, swallowed. Then Hades, then Poseidon. 5 children torn from Rhea's arms in their first moments of life, trapped inside their own father's body. Rhea's grief calcified into something far more dangerous than sorrow. By the time she was pregnant with her 6th child, she had already made a decision. She would not let history repeat itself. Not this time. Rhea fled to the island of Crete, disappearing into a hidden cave on Mount Ida, far from her husband's reach. There, in secret, she gave birth to a son. She named him Zeus. To deceive Cronus, Rhea wrapped a stone in swaddling cloth and presented it as their newborn child. Blinded by paranoia and certain of his own power, Cronus swallowed the stone without a second thought, never suspecting the deception. Zeus, meanwhile, was raised in hiding, nursed by the divine goat Amalthea, protected by warriors who clashed their spears together to mask the infant's cries from his father's ears. For years, in complete secrecy, Zeus grew, not into a helpless child, into a weapon built for one purpose, to end the reign of the god who had swallowed his own siblings alive. When Zeus reached adulthood, he returned not as an infant to be hidden, but as a god ready for war. With the help of the cunning Titanomachy, Zeus tricked Cronus into drinking a potion that forced him to vomit up everything he had swallowed. One by one, his siblings emerged, alive, grown, and burning with vengeance. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, free after years trapped in darkness. Together, the six gods declared war on Cronus, and the Titans loyal to him. This war would become known as the Titanomachy, 10 years of devastation so violent that mountains were torn from the earth and hurled like stones. And the sky itself seemed to fracture under the force of it. Zeus descended into Tartarus and freed the imprisoned Cyclopes and hundred-handed ones, the very beings Uranus had once buried alive. In gratitude, the Cyclopes forged Zeus a weapon no god had ever wielded before, the thunderbolt. Lightning became his, and the tide of the war turned completely. The Titans fell. Cronus was overthrown, the very fate he had spent his entire reign trying to prevent, delivered by his own hands making. The old gods were sealed away in Tartarus forever. A new age of divine rule had begun. With the Titans defeated, the six victorious siblings faced a new problem. Who would rule what remained of the cosmos? Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades drew lots to divide creation among themselves. Zeus claimed the sky, supreme ruler of gods and mortals, king of Mount Olympus. Poseidon claimed the sea, master of every wave, storm, and creature beneath the water. Hades claimed the underworld, lord of the dead, ruler of a realm no living soul entered willingly. The earth itself remained shared ground, belonging to all. Atop Olympus, the new order took its throne, eventually growing to 12. Zeus, Hera, Poseidon, Demeter, Hestia, Athena, Apollo, Artemis, Ares, Aphrodite, Hermes, Hephaestus, and Dionysus. But here is what most retellings leave out. Not one of these gods inherited peace. Every single one of them clawed their way to that throne through fear, deception, or war. Here is the truth the ancient Greeks understood thousands of years before we did. Power is never given freely. It is always taken, and it is always haunted by the fear of losing it. Uranus feared his children, and it cost him his throne. Cronus feared his children in exactly the same way, and lost his throne through the exact same method he had used against his own father. The cycle repeated itself, generation after generation, each ruler certain he had escaped his father's fate until he hadn't. Zeus became the name that still echoes through temple ruins, Renaissance paintings, and modern films, not because he ruled with kindness, but because he was the first to break that cycle of paranoia and consumption. Every myth that follows, every mortal hero who dares to challenge a god, every tragic downfall, every impossible trial, traces back to this single brutal truth. The Greeks never worshipped perfect, peaceful beings. They worshipped power that had bled to survive. And maybe that's exactly why these stories have lasted 3,000 years. Because deep down, we don't just want gods who are powerful. We want gods who are afraid of losing everything just like us. So tell me, if you were Cronus and you knew the prophecy was coming for you, would you have made the same choice? Let me know in the comments.